I remember years ago in good old Denver, Colorado, there were two brothers. I called them the Roly Poly brothers. They both drove school bus at Denver, and they would sit with the ethnic women, talk, play cards. They did not seem to get along with men. The one guy was funny. He would laugh, he'd crack jokes. I remember one day he got on the two-way radio and he would say, I 25 is plugged up like a toilet bowl. I tried to be nice to them. They weren't going to have it. And then one day something interesting happened. I was walking across the bus lot, and one of the brothers, the one I thought was humorous, came out from the pumps and revved the engine and started coming at me like he was going to run me over. And I turned around. He didn't slow. I jumped out of the way and I'm like, you SOB. I turned it in. One day, his other brother was in the kitchen area of the break room, and I turned around and said, good morning. He totally ignored me. And I said, oh, I said, you're not going to speak to me. And he waited for somebody else to vacate the kitchen, and he leans in real quietly. He says, no, I'm not going to speak to you. You listen to Fox News, and I ain't going to talk to you. You go ahead and listen to Fox News. Go complain to Fox News about me. I was shocked. I had never talked about my beliefs with him. Little backup. When I first started, there was a gentleman, I believe he had some Native American mix in him, and he had a bumper sticker on his truck. Fox News, dangerous for America. And I thought, really? One news channel against an onslaught of liberals. And he was walking through the break room commenting. Now, please understand, this was then. I don't support Mitt Romney. He was a sorry candidate that the Republicans put out. He was very weak, very much chameleon. And that's who we had running against Obama. He made some comment complete with cussing, and I said, hey, I said, there's people that don't agree with you. That's kind of offensive, which I had a right to say in the workplace. Guy turned around, he says, really? So I'll tell you what, he's a effing blah, 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 and I'll kick your effing ASS. And I said, you're threatening me because I told you what you're saying is offensive. You have a right to your view, but blurting it out in a public employees' break room is probably not the great place to do it. You see, Democrats don't like it when Republicans stand on workplace rules that they created to come against us. The gentleman who sat at the dispatcher desk, I looked right at him and he said, I wouldn't take that. Go talk to one of the supervisors. I went in there and told one of the supervisors. They brought the guy in the office. I said, and I pulled out a couple of my own cards. I said, I said the comments he made were not only offensive, but then he threatened me. I said, I've lived in Hong Kong. I've been through cultures of the world, but you don't walk into a break room and say the kind of things this guy says. The guy who made the comment says, you lived in Hong Kong? I said, yes, I did. They have a view because of the Democrat left that whites, they don't like anybody. From that day on, he and I got along. He still held to his twisted Democrat views, but he was always polite to me. These two brothers, for whatever reason, had heard some of that discussion and formed an opinion. They were both from Orleans. They were all into the Orleans football. The one comedian of the brothers quit, and then eventually he quit too. But I did. I went to our boss and I said, hey, I said hi to somebody and they weren't very nice. And I said, wow, you can't even say hi. And he made a comment about my He was called in the office and said, "You don't have to agree with Michael, but if you don't want to talk to him, all you have to do is say, I don't want to talk because your views make me feel bad. I get butthurt because I'm a Democrat. The loser takes it all." Democrats are the most intolerant people I have ever met. It is a party dominated by women. How is female leadership doing in the United States? Kamala went down in flames last night. Deflect, avoid, deflect, avoid. She doesn't take credit for their 4-year administration's complete ruination of America. Pushing electric, but then taxing the hell out of electric companies. Makes sense, right? If you're a woman, yes. But hold on here. Women talk about women and they want women to break the glass ceiling and they want women. But who do they want to break the glass ceiling? And they broke the gas ceiling too with jacking up the price of fuel and shutting down drilling. Look at Tulsi Gabbard. Let's talk about a woman who's worth her salt. Tulsi Gabbard is registered Democrat, or was, and she finally had an about face, I think possibly a come to Jesus moment, and she said, "I can't get behind this party no more." She threw her vote in for Donald Trump. Now, he had no, he didn't pay her off. He didn't manipulate that. And when Tulsi talks, listen to her. She's not an emotionally driven logic woman. She is reasoned. She is measured in her speech. And I have to say, as a man, Tulsi breaks the glass ceiling on one level. An intelligent, self-controlled, rational, sane woman. Now, she's married, but that's the kind of woman you want as a wife. Somebody with a head like that. You don't see that out there. Tulsi is a rare blade of grass. Tulsi is not like, and even me, I have come hard against American women with no apologies, no regrets. I cannot find fault with Tulsi. Does Tulsi ever flaw? Every one of us sins and falls short of the glory of God. But Tulsi is damn good with debate. She shredded Kamala Harris based on fact alone. I wish Donald Trump had Tulsi's skills. I wish Donald Trump had chosen Tulsi as a running mate because Tulsi is exactly what Trump needs for decorum. But nonetheless, Trump, with all of his warts and imperfections, still beat a woman in debate. Kamala Harris is hidden from the public. She's done much like Bunker Joe did, avoided any speech press meetings and not being transparent. She's changed her stance. She's trying to secure the voters from all directions. And you listen to Democrat women. Oh, we got to get a woman in there. A woman in there is so important. We're about to go to war, food price, crime prices. And the Democrats, one of the problems I have with Democrats is true to feminism. You never hear most American women say these 3 words: I am sorry. Let that sink in. The Democrats are the same. If they admitted to any wrongdoing, yeah, the prices went up. Yep, we cock-blocked gas. And you got the worst president in the history of the United States saying, can we buy it from Venezuela? Can we buy it from Iran? Are you out of your mind? And he used up our reserves, which you're not supposed to do. What is wrong with Democrat men? What is wrong with the roly-poly brothers? Why did they have hatred towards me? I came to work. I did my job. I got along with most of the people there. Even the guy who lofted his hateful, wrong-headed volleys, he told me he was moving to New Mexico. I shook his hand. I said, well, best to you, man. He was moving all the way down to Roswell. He said, yeah, I got some land down there and I want to get away from all this rat race. Proof that even Pacific can get along with a staunch Native American mixed Democrat. But the 2 roly-poly white guys that always talked about Orleans and sat with black women and played cards, not that that's wrong, had a hatred for me. One day, one of the brothers pulled out of his bus parking spot, and there was a big old exhaust, like 4 feet around in the center of the bus. I guess when the other bus started, it was burning oil or whatever, and left a big old black stain in the middle of the bus. And I said, you know what? That's perfect for him. That's freaking beautiful. And I have said it, and I'll say it again. Men that vote Democrat are not men. Oh, they'll threaten. You ever notice that? Democrats will threaten to kick your ass. And how about Stephen King? We know where Stephen King stands. He lives in Maine. He's made, I think, $400 million off his violent, graphic horror novels. But he stood up and was the big testicular man that said, we got to do something about these guns. Oh, whoops. And I've almost knocked the computer on the floor. Stephen King making profits off violence and horror, as has Hollywood. And they really like to showcase these mean, rest me, bitch, face women with guns. The Democrats are not only hypocrites, they defined the word. Look at what's going on in Aurora, Colorado. I don't miss Colorado. Colorado could become a nuclear test facility as far as I'm concerned, and it's not a nice thing to say. But they vote blue and they keep voting blue and they keep thinking that they're making wise, informed choices. The Venezuelans that have poured into the Denver metro area, illegals, are taking over and commandeering apartment buildings with guns. Where's the Democrats' cry about guns? Silence. Running out residents. A Hells Angel biker gang is looking at going in and cleaning them out. Has it really gotten that bad? Yep. And the Colorado News, the news anchors up there prescripted. We want to bring something that's made national attention. Oh, Colorado News, you didn't say a word about it. Now that it's gained media attention, now you're going to do knee jerk. Colorado News is one of the most stupidest news organizations I've ever seen, based out of Denver, 3 TV stations. I drove a school bus there, and I'm going to tell you, every one of those news vans drove like idiots, no blinkers, blasting through red lights, speeding, driving dumb around my bus. And I would love to have my own news channel saying, we want to show you 9 News, Colorado. It's funny how the news can do and say whatever they want, and there's no accountability. I've talked about that with ABC, with the woman that had a hot mic, and the mic was open. And she said, we had Clinton, we had Prince, was it Harry, on this Epstein Island thing. Now, whether you admit it or not, Max Lane or Ghislaine Maxwell, I cannot say her name, Ghislaine Maxwell, she was not a bad looking woman. She was having sex with teen girls, along with the men and the politicians and possibly Bill Gates. Now, Bill Gates is scary. He looks like a geek. He wants population control. He's concerned about overpopulation. Why would that even bother him? He builds a house the size of a school building up there outside Seattle. He owns gobs of real estate. He's worth tons of money. And his own wife and him got divorced. I wonder why. I wonder if you pulled back the masks on the Democrat left and all the sins they've done, if we'd be surprised. Do you think Bill Gates was getting wiki with teen girls? I wouldn't be surprised. The richer you are, you can hide. Ghislaine was charged. We all know that Epstein's death was fishy and suspicious. Democrats were very afraid that he would talk. Well, don't kid yourself. There was possibly some Republicans involved in that as well. Sin is sin. And the thought of men having access to a younger, nubile girl is quite scintillating. And that was not, Ghislaine was not forced to pony up who was involved. I find that interesting. The FBI always wants to get to the bottom of things. Why was that not done? Because the Democrats are the mafia. They don't want to be exposed. And we had a debate where a woman had a chance to shine and she was a falling star. But I wake up this morning in the Salon, the Independent, all the toilet paper news publications are, oh, Trump came off the rails, Trump, blah, 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 blah. The Democrats are so focused on their hate, they've become mentally ill. They project, they deny, they pivot. This isn't news. And when I hear women say, oh, I went to college, pictures in my mind of fraternities and half naked girls going, hey, hey, with girls kissing on their boobs and the guys drinking beer going, yeah, come to mind. College. CU Boulder with guys and girls throwing couches out in the street and lighting them on fire. College. Getting drunk. College. I see the way college educated people drive their cars. Did you know they cannot drive better than gangsters? They can't drive better than anybody else. And they got their Phi Beta Kappa stickers all over the back of their car, alumni and whatever. And I feel like pulling up and say, did you get a college degree to drive like what I just saw there? People get really mad when I pull that up because Americans like to think they're all that on a stick. It's like, but you went to college and you think because you're college, you're educated, smarter. How come it's not showing in your driving? You can fool people of who you are until they see how you drive your car. I don't care what anybody says. But let's go back to women, the impetus for this video. And I failed to mention some things. I went off on many rabbit trails in my former video, which is getting quite a few views compared to the others. When I went to that church where I told you a teen young lady would greet me every day and talk about her ballet and such, and another married woman who'd always talk to me, and they didn't come on to me. There was nothing inappropriate. None of the men at the church ever spoke to me. We had gone to Chisholm Baptist Church up there in the Iron Strange of Minnesota, and it is a strange place up there. I'm telling you, that is not my opinion. That is a damn fact. I met a few good people up there, but there's a lot of strange people. A very violent community. It's a mining community. They're very abusive to their women. They're alcoholics. Some of the most fugly men and women I've ever seen in my life live on the Iron Strange. When I lived there, the place is spooky. The biggest entertainment in Hibbing was listening to the Scanner on a Friday and Saturday night with locals getting pulled over for DUIs and stuff. When I was married and my wife and son and I attended there, nobody tried to get to know us or reached out. One day I came into the church on a Wednesday. I'd brought my son. My then wife did not attend. And before the service started, teen and or late elementary school kids were getting up on the backs of the pews and jumping for. I said, "Hey, what are you doing? Get off of there." There were women sitting there. They all looked at me like, "What is wrong with him?" I said, "Is anybody going to do anything about these kids acting bad?" And I had called the pastor the next day and I said, "Hey, I'm sorry to be a problem, but there was something going on." Well, these are kids that we try to reach out and they're kind of tough and stuff. And I said, but nobody said anything. You don't do that in a church. And it's hit me all my life. I'm the strange one. It's perfectly normal for kids to walk on the back of oak pews and jump from one to the other while American women just sit there and have their little flaky conversations with each other. And nobody addresses it. But it gets better. The daughter that would always talk to me of a family He liked to talk about his turn of the century home that he was remodeling. They liked to grandstand that they opened their home at Christmas and brought in the people off the street and stuff for a meal. Do not let your left hand know what your right is doing. Guess that was missed in the Sunday school lessons. The family didn't chat with me. The teen daughter did. I'd walk in the door and she's waiting for me. Oh, hey, I got first place in this. This girl wanted validation. She wanted me to know. Wait for it. 2008. I'd gotten divorced in 07. Excuse me. Yeah, 2008. Got divorced in 07. After the divorce, actually before the divorce. Now, remember, my wife and I, other than the two women that chatted with me, we didn't know anybody. They went to church, my ex and my son and myself. But this time when I went in, I sat on the right side of the pews. She sat in our old place on the left. When I talk about women, I've had almost 60 years of experience watching, observing, and a mother who adopted me, my snake in the grass older sister who blood is thicker than water, my younger adopted sister who was a turncoat, and watching the women in our family that grew up in the golden era, the 40s and 50s, while their husbands went to work, bashing their husbands. That was the backdrop. Watching my mother have two cockapoo dogs that barked and yapped on the deck and peed and pooped and made a mess and disturbed the entire neighborhood. And white women don't seem to care that the barking dogs are annoying everybody on the same street. And that still goes on today. Women go on and on about doggies and talking baby talk. And when they walk around a lake in Lakewood, Colorado, they see each other with a dog. And they just get so stupid. But me, I'm walking around. I'm a man. I have my struggles. Do they say hi? Do they say good morning? Do they care? Nope. After that service ended, I got up to leave. All these women that I did not know came and surrounded my ex-wife. I thought, what is going on? All the women. I thought inside myself, what did she say or do? No men came up to me. Nobody came up. Nobody knew. We hadn't gone to the pastor or anybody in the congregation. I hadn't even talked to the teen girl or the lady that used to talk to me that there was trouble in Pacific's marriage. I left her. Let me make that very crystal. My ex-wife to this day projects and is in denial. She caused decisions that gravely affected my son. I left that church going, who are all these women and how did she get all these people to rally around her? And then I think a week later, the teen girl's father came over to me. Oh, hey, how you doing? I'm all right. You know, I noticed that you and your wife always sit together. I said, we're divorced. Oh, well, you know, you guys should work it out. I said, we're divorced. It's over. And I said, where were you when we were having problems? Well, and he went on about why you shouldn't divorce. I said, can I tell you again? Our divorce is done. There's no turning back. I still kept going, and I did call the pastor. I didn't involve him in my stuff. Didn't feel he needed to know. After the divorce, my ex-wife blew up my voicemail on my landline. I'd come home and there was hate messages and her yelling and screaming, "You abandoned us! You abandoned us!" I abandoned you. I left you the house I remodeled that you didn't lift a finger for. Your mother's house that you contributed nothing to. I left you with $250,000 of an inheritance that, yes, your mother left us. I abandoned you guys. I hated that marriage so bad. I took my truck, a few of my worldly possessions, and left. I said, I will not sign anything unless I get a minimum of 50,000. I paid off your $15,000 IRS debt. You begged me to stay at home for 6 years and raise our son. I put sweat and equity into this house. I won't sign it. She claims, well, my attorney told me I should at least give you that much. I said, you had told me you would give me half, but I'm going to settle for that because I want away from you. Do not come after me for child support because you got more than enough. Oh, I would never do that. For 15 years, 1 year longer than we were married, she continued to get revenge, leaving notes on my truck when I moved to Colorado. Blowing up my phone. I had my number changed 3 or 4 times in the 7 years I lived in Lakewood, Colorado. And the horrors of what I went through with my son. When he turned 18, I was like, I'm done with this crap. And I moved all the way to the other end of the country. I hate Colorado. I have no desire to live in Colorado. Colorado's had stupid mayors for Denver, stupid governors, Governor Polis, Mayor Polis, whatever. The biggest joke. And Colorado keeps voting in stupid people. A flaming gay man with a husband who cannot lead anything. Women like men that are gay. They get along better with men that are gay. They love to yuck it up and laugh with them. Women don't want real men like myself that will say it like it is. They don't like Donald Trump. Donald Trump is offensive because women want to repackage men. They want to remold men. My ex-wife went to everybody we mutually knew and lied. But to see an entire church of women that I didn't even know any of them surround my ex just reminded me again how women are not objective. How women just defend women. They don't listen to fact. They will not come and say, hey, Mike, what happened? The Bible has a mandate for entertaining accusations against anybody in the Church of Christ, meaning Christians. Me divorcing and leaving her and all these women forming an opinion based on what she said is not only not fair. And as I said in my video yesterday about John MacArthur and other itinerant, notable preachers making big bags of money, they don't talk about this. Women hear something about a man and they gather up like a bunch of cackling hens and they crucify the guy, not knowing the truth. This is not okay in Christendom. And Christians get very mad. I had to erase comments of a guy who left comment after comment after comment defending MacArthur, attacking me. And I said, this is an internet troll. And yes, you have stupid, uninformed Christians out there that like cheesy praise music, never say a bad word about Christians and their behavior, but defend the cult like mentality. And I have never denied the word of God, but you bet I'll deny bad acting Christians. My ex wife is a flaming example of that. And I struggle now with my relationship with God. I find myself getting angry at him. You think I don't have scars and wounds? You think sometimes I haven't said, God, why didn't you step in and do something about this stuff? Men get beat up, beat up, beat up, and women do something and they come out smelling like a rose. Why? Let me make it very crystal clear, folks. What happened to Chisholm Baptist Church is proof of a systemic malady that's affected Christendom and the country in general. When a woman says anything, it's taken as gospel. Where were the men surrounding me? Do you know that every day I went to that church, that young lady knew I was divorced? Did she stop talking to me? Did that other woman stop talking to me? Why was a teen girl, out of all those people in the church, not hanging around with her peers, not talking to any other men or women in the church, but wanted to talk to me? Why? I don't know. Did I have inappropriate thoughts about her? No, I did not. But when I left town in 2008, I got their address and I dropped a note to her. And I addressed it to the parents. I said, I just wanted to thank you, young lady, for being kind to me, talking to me. I hope you do well with your ballet and your studies. In a church where I had gone through my own personal struggles and had some problems in my own personal life, you always were polite and nice, and I appreciate that. And I sent that to her parents because I wanted her parents to see that. You could come up and tell somebody, well, you shouldn't get divorced. And that's the way Christians do. They don't care about you. They don't want to get to know you because you're not their type. But when there's an alarm bell going off a divorce, now we're going to go up and tell the man what to do. I had nothing against the pastor. The pastor was okay. I didn't agree with him about the kids letting them run loose. I think men and women should have stood up and said, you do not run across the pews. No, you don't do that. But I had to call him many times. I said, hey, I'm sorry to bother you. I know we're divorced. I'm not going to get all into that. I divorced her. I left her, and she's leaving hate grams on my phone every time I come home from work. And he told her, not once, but several times, you can't do that. My ex didn't like hearing that, so she left and went back to the church we used to go to in Virginia, Minnesota. And women will not stay in a place where they are convicted, where they are exposed. Kamala Harris is an example of the summation, the apex of feminism. Deny the truth, project, avoid, deflect. I've said this for years, and women like to make clinical diagnosis of me. My ex-wife, who is a born-again Christian, loved to make diagnosis of me. All of it false. She had accused me when I moved to Spokane. I got an email saying, you project. I'm like, what the hell is project? And I looked it up. It's like a projector. Remember the old reel, and the light goes through the film, and it dawned on me. Most of the time, people that are accusing you are guilty of all of the above. We see this with the Democrats. Oh, Trump is Hitler. Oh, Trump is a dictator. Yeah, you Democrats are a bunch of thugs that want to rule or else. Look at AOC's comments to the Supreme Court. Listen to AOC. Listen to Ilhan Omar. Listen to to lead. Let's talk about women and leadership. Why is the Democrat Party not praising or recognizing a Tulsi Gabbard with her sound mind and intelligent discourse? Why is it that America doesn't seek that? They seek Madonna culture or Kardashian culture or trash culture. The best candidate that the women can put out is Hillary Clinton. The best candidate they can put out is Kamala Harris. You've got to be kidding me. Those are not leaders. They're angry women. I wouldn't say Kamala's an angry woman. She's a ditzy. And I'm going to say something that will offend people. I could see where she'd be very good at giving BJs. You can look at her face and you could just tell. She just laughs like she's a drunken clown. She'd probably be very good at filatio. You can just look at her. And unfortunately, when I look at her, I'm like, she is not leadership. How she became an attorney, how she studied and muddled through years of law school. But we all know what she did with Willie Brown. And she dated Montel, both of them clowns. And she got her upkick, her spark plug ignition into politics by having an affair with Willie Brown. How come the media was silent about that? They gang up on Trump. And I personally have a problem with that. I don't care about Trump and what he did as much as the silence of the left about the sins of the left. Anybody remember, was it Hart? Was it Gary Hart that ran for president? He had an affair. He went down in flames over that. But he was Republican ticket. Bill Clinton, he got a blowjob by the infamous Monica Lewinsky. I wonder if he looks at her now and has any regret. She is not a pretty woman. Nothing sexy there. I imagine a lot of sweat and a lot of ugly smells there. I admit in my own craziness, I regret looking back at some of the women I was intimately involved with, and I see pictures of them now, like, oh, good God, you've got to be kidding me. Men, remember something. If you want to know what your wife's going to look like when she gets older, look at mom. Okay? Generally speaking. Are women fit to lead? I believe from the Bible standpoint, the Apostle Paul says, I do not permit a woman to teach or have authority over men, because Paul uses the pronoun or the descriptive of I, or personalizing it. Oh, Paul was chauvinist. It's funny. In instructions to Timothy about overseers and bishops, Paul reiterates, he must be the husband of one wife. He must not be a lover of money. He must have his children in subjection to him. He, the pronoun he. And in a day and age where we define sex and say there's 80,000 genders and crazy crap like that, God's absolutes are absolute. It was not God's will for women to be head of the church or in the pastorate. You got black and white women claiming to be pastors. You got Joyce Myers, who's another gold digging, help her hands to the cookie jar. We have a lot of dumb Americans that get behind foolish movements, foolish churches, foolish Democrat crap. This is not my opinion. This election is driven by race and sex. Women and their feelings want to vote in a woman. We've had 4 years to see that Kamala failed on the border, failed on crime, failed on lowering prices, failed on Americans' take-home pay. And no matter what they say, 4 years of Trump didn't do that. The Democrats are blind in their hatred. Road rage. I have to warn myself all the time. I see people doing dumb stuff. Do not get fixated on the idiot. Tap your horn, get away from the person. When you fixate on something, you go blind and make bad decisions. The Democrats, every liberal publication, MSNBC, which is misinformation, bull crap. All the stuff that you see out there is just focused on their hatred and contempt. Oh, Trump's incoherent. Oh, Trump's rambling. Oh, Trump this. Oh, Trump that. Oh, JD Vance. Oh, Tucker's a Nazi. Oh, anything connected to Trump is not safe. This isn't journalism. This is KGB Soviet controlled television. The Democrats are stupid, but yet they're smart. Keep saying the same thing over and over again. Do a blitzkrieg. Use the media in your favor. Use the school system. Tell the white kids that you're sorry ass individuals because you were racist. If Trump wins, there needs to be safeguards put in the Constitution to keep this from happening again. The Democrats trying to do a coup d'etat and take over and blow up the Supreme Court, pack and stack. There needs to be no. Kamala Harris is not leadership material. The Democrats will never put a Tulsi Gabbard out there. Tulsi Gabbard has integrity. Supposedly, Tulsi Gabbard has faith in Jesus. Her own husband wants nothing to do with politics. But her own husband admitted that when he attended with her at Democrat rallies versus a Republican rally, he said there is a difference. The Republicans were happier and nicer. Can you imagine being married to a Hillary? She's a battle axe. I don't see passion. I don't see love. I don't see sweetness. And obviously, Billy got tired of her. He couldn't get enough women. And what's funny is to listen to Hillary and her stupid comments that she made about Trump. You want this man to lead our presidency? No, we want your husband who's cheating on you in broad daylight in the Oval Office, babe. You are a dumb woman. Dumb. Bill Clinton had nothing to say to Donald Trump. Nothing. I think Bill Clinton still has a sense of shame and a conscience, unlike his wife. No, women are not supposed to be leaders over us. In every workplace I've worked, I see the deficits of women when they're in charge. Even leader women and supervisors I respect, that I see problems. You go to them, you don't bother them, and then they tell you, well, I've been busy and I got to deal with it. Well, that's your job. You wanted leadership. I'm coming in and I don't bother you and I need you to address this. No, women are not supposed to be over men. They're not supposed to be head of the church. The Bible says Christ is head of the church. The head of the household is man. It's called offices. Women have an office. They're supposed to raise the children. They're not doing that anymore. Have you noticed that? They're too busy getting SUVs and trying all of Starbucks $7 coffee and going on and on about dogs. Yeah, America's in trouble. Donald Trump won the debate. Will the liberals ever admit that? They are incapable of doing so. What if we win this election? They're already talking about the Russians interfering again. Democrats repeat and repeat. And it is a party dominated by women, foolish women, silly women. Nancy Pelosi can't even speak clearly, shuffering. Sounds like a drunk lush. Her husband's got some weird stuff going on with the clown that supposedly broke in, and maybe he was having wear panties parties with this weird man that lived in a bus. with BLM flags all over it. And guess what Pelosi said? Did she ever issue a retraction? And this is Republican. No, it was one of your own clowns, lady fool. Nancy Pelosi is not. You got a grown woman acting like a brat, tearing up the State of the Union address, and women think that that was cute and cool. No decorum. Look at Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard stands head and shoulders above any Democrat woman any day. Look at Cori Bush when she lost. Talk about a crybaby. Threatening. Cori Bush was a racist woman. Had no business in politics. She should have been on the Jerry Springer show, and she calls herself a pastor. That's not a pastor, folks. Not by God's definition. We've already talked about here in Georgia that all the black people got behind Raphael Warnock, calling himself a pastor. I'm not even going to talk about Warnock. He's a foolish man. Anti-Israeli, pro-Palestinian, and Democrat. That's all that needs to be said. Warnock is bad blood. And even here, a red state has turned blue because you have a group of people that vote by color, not by principle. They didn't listen to Dr. King. How could black people get behind Kamala Harris, who plays the race card? She's 50% India, 50% Jamaican. Why didn't she hire a black VP? Why did she hire a putz from Minnesota called Tim Walz? Tampon Tim. Leadership? Let me tell you something. If I was running for president and I got any support from Tulsi, I'd say, I want you to be my VP because you can keep me on point. I admit that I, as a man, believe in the value of a woman. I would want to hear what Tulsi has to say. Mike, you need to do this. You need to do this. You need to shine. Don't do this. I have a problem with a woman having input into my life because I believe in the value of a female. But the Democrats talk about women breaking the glass ceiling. What kind of women do you want to break the glass ceiling? Women that wreck the country, wreck the economy, cause the crime stats to go up, allow all these illegals to flood in? What would Kamala do if the Venezuelan gangs came in waving machine guns and all that in her house and said, get out, bitch? What would she do? What the Democrats have done to the rest of Americans needs to come right up to their front door because they won't get it until it personally affects them. And that's the problem with the Democrats. They don't care that the economy's out of control. They got theirs. Screw you. They don't care electric rates are rising. Oprah Winfrey's got 9 mansions and billions of dollars. She can afford those rising electric bills. Is she going solar? Do you see wind farms in her backyards? No. The Democrats are liars and hypocrites, and it is a party dominated by women whose rational thought processes are not there. The Democrats, I don't just disagree with them. They are destructive to the Constitution, destructive to biblical and family values. Now, do I walk perfectly according to the Bible? I do not. But the Democrats are not creating a society that's based on family, based on moral scruples, and they act like they're the moral high ground. They're not. And I've seen enough in my own life when a bunch of women side with my wife, never having spoke to her, and automatically take her side. That was ridiculous. I, as a pastor, would have seen that and said, I'm going to address something that's going to be uncomfortable today. I know we live in a part of the country where there's a lot of violence with men that work in the mines, a lot of alcoholism, and a lot of women have been hurt. But what do you do when a couple's been in church and nobody takes the time to get to know them, and a man makes a decision to leave his wife, and a woman says something, and all the women come and gather around the woman and feel sorry for her, but nobody bothered to ask Mike what happened? We're Christians, folks, and we don't do things the way the world does things. And people get mad when I talk about the shortcomings of Christian churches. You've heard the saying, you don't check your brains at the door, and you don't check your brains at the door with the Democrats, with so called science, or with church. Just because we believe in the inerrant word of God, just because we're born again Christians, doesn't mean that the church is above critique. Just because science puts itself out there as the fact finders doesn't mean that they're above critique. When they put forth a view called evolution, which is not based in fact, we have every right to shred and criticize it. And that's not science. Science has been hijacked by atheists, Democrats who don't like being questioned. Isn't that the way that Jim Jones operated the Kool-Aid cult? And guess what I see day in and day out? The Democrats are Jim Jones all over again, threatening us that if we don't drink their Kool-Aid, they'll take away our bank accounts. They'll take away our right to speak. They'll shut down our social media. Jim Jones, folks, just watch the outflow of Democrat bullshit, which is all it is. Kamala lost. Their darling child, so-called news publications, which are fit for the urinal and piss targets. Salon, HuffPost, Independent. Independent of what? Reason? Yeah, there you go. Salon. The Salon. Good news name for a salon. Well, we all know what goes on in salons. Women gossip and hairspray. But why are we going to trust that? HuffPost? Yeah, huff and puff and I'll blow your house down, said the wolf. The New Yorker. $100 words, sophisticated articulations, hatred of Donald Trump, hatred of GOP, hatred of Christianity, believers in evolution, believers of critical race theory, and they call themselves intelligentsia. The New Yorker, such an intellectual publication. It's bullshit. I wouldn't wipe my ass with it. I love how the Kool-Aid cult hides behind their college and said Republicans aren't as educated as we are. That's a good thing because we can see what you cannot. Women leading us? No. They won't put forth a Tulsi. I would say this because of what's going on. I'd rather see Tulsi run this damn country than any Democrat woman, anytime, anyhow. Democrats don't want to talk about Tulsi. They don't want to deal with her. They can't lobby any criticism against her. They would because their hatred. It's funny reading the comments. People said, I envy your husband. I'm jealous of your husband. People think Tulsi's pretty. She's not a bad looking woman. And women constantly on the left say, men are afraid of a beautiful, smart woman. No, we're not. It's just you don't find any on the left. AOC's beautiful, but she's not smart. She's an airhead. She's a bartender. I talked to the bartender. Nobody says anything on the left about Tulsi. They have put the two worst female candidates in the history of the United States in an attempt to reach the presidency. Hillary Clinton, we're going to break the glass ceiling. Not stop Putin, not stop rising prices, not get gas and drilling and allow us to tap our own resources. No. The Democrats have an agenda of destroying, dividing. They don't care that your or my prices go up. They do not give a shit. They're liars and they're hypocrites. The media is dominated by Democrat leftism. It is not journalism. It is not news. It is not fact. They take one fact, the skin of truth stuffed with a lie, and run with it. And I think that yellow journalism needs to be held into accountability. There is no such thing as free speech. You cannot yell fire in a theater and yell bomb in an airport. And the Democrats don't want to talk about that. News outlets that call themselves news and schools teaching that evolution is a fact, that needs to be stopped. It is a theory that is not sounded in good science. You want to teach it? Then couch it with that. You want to call yourself a news organization? The U.S. needs to say that's not news. That's spin. Yeah, there needs to be watchdogs over MSNBC, NBC, ABC, CBS, PBS, NPR, HuffPost, all these toilet paper productions. And I blame the Democrat mentality on women. They're the most dominant, the most outspoken. Tim Walz is a putz. But let's just hear a soundbite of his wife, who liked the smell of burning tires as she opened her windows and thought the rioting was a beautiful thing. Doesn't that sound like Nero, who torched Christians in his gardens? Yeah, I think so. And again, Kamala's black, but she didn't choose a black running mate. Why? How come you don't see Kamala hanging around with the blacks? Only in photo ops. Women have no business leading America when you got that shit running for president. Be interesting to see what kind of dirty, dirty, nasty stuff the Democrats do to win this election. But even if they do win it fair and square, we have to admit there's a lot of dumb, dumb women and a lot of dumb, dumb men in this country that will vote for the very party that will destroy even them in time. You cannot educate stupid. It can't be done.